he's just going to bring up, and when he brings it up, we're live.
Oh, I see, right.
So that's how it kind of works, which probably means we're live now. Looking at Jace, we're live now. Ben Hurley.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome to Dunedin.
Thanks. It's beautiful weather.
You're here for the Fringe Festival.
I am.
And last night was show number one.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
it's all right. I find audio. I forget. It's such a cool, vibrant, sort of modern city, Dunedin, but the crowds here are a little more conservative.
Explain. How do you see that? What do you know?
I just see people laughing behind their hands a lot. at filth and dirty things.
I would think that if you come here, that a good portion of your audience would be students.
You'd think that, but no, not really. Students don't pay for entertainment. They have the YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where you got to watch the person recording last night for all the students watching it today on YouTube.
Probably, yeah. It's it's a bit of a myth. People say it to me all the time. Oh, there'll be lots of students. There never is. If you get students, they're always like quite a way through their studies. They might be like third year teachers, college students or whatever. Yeah. Because
I know Elwood said to me, you did your 7 days tour at the end of last year.
Yeah.
You avoided Dunedin.
We do, yeah. Dunedin's a hard sell. It's and I think it's actually for very positive reasons because I actually live in the Bay of Plenty now. So I live near Tauranga, and which is it's a cultural wasteland basically. But it just overtook Dunedin in terms of population.
You're right.
And there's nothing there. Like there's nothing.
I was just going to say hi to your neighbours while you're here.
Yeah.
You live in a cultural wasteland.
Well, they literally voted down having a museum. There's no museum in Tauranga.
I lived in Tauranga for less than 2 years, but kind of I finished radio working mid-dawns on More FM, and you would go out to the centres to do afternoon show sort of thing. So I lived there for a couple of years, and what I found about Tauranga was, you know how they say everyone goes there to retire?
Uh-huh.
I found it wasn't quite that. It was that everyone who was 30 acted 50. It was like they were a bit older. Yeah. So I think I was then married. I was probably 26, 27, and all my peers, so who were say 25 to 30, like had 4 kids. Yeah. And I was just like, what the fuck? I've just come from Auckland, living in central Auckland, and and our favourite cafe in the Mount would shut at 4 p.m. Yeah. And it was just foreign,
It's a
still like that?
Yeah, it is. It's getting better. It's a beautiful city. Yeah. You fly in and out of Tauranga and you look down and you go, wow, that's what a cool place to live. And it is. But it's a beachy place, So I think Dunedin, because it's, because of the climate, it is more of an indoors place. Yeah. And so there's just so many things to do. Dunedin's the place where you go into a bar and there's a band from Portland, Oregon playing in the corner, and that's certainly not the case in Tauranga.
But that's because of the university. That's
I suppose so.
Well, you think? One of the things I love about Dunedin, like I've been here over 4 years now, down from Auckland, is that I love the 2 kinds of people in Dunedin: those who love the university students and those that hate them. Like those that hate the couch burning, or those that love them. And I love them because of them. The life is here. Who else goes through all those burger joints? Like we've got this thing of street burger joints at the moment coming up in Dunedin, or the pubs, or the bars, or why does Ed Sheeran come here?
True.
To sell out 3 freaking concerts? Yeah. 120,000. And the students, it's really nice over summer when it's a bit quieter, but I get this energy when like February rolls around and all of a sudden there's this new life coming into the city. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a joke I've done on stage, but people that aren't connected to Otago University in any way, they kind of find the students a little bit annoying that they take over their city. But that without that university, this would be fucking Timaru.
It'd be Tauranga without the hot beaches.
Well, actually, Tauranga, it's funny you should say that because Waikato Uni has got a campus there opening next year. Oh, nice. So that might give it a bit more soul.
Well, it is that. There's no question at all. It's a strange juxtaposition that, you look out the window behind you can see one of the church spires. There's that old world, traditional, Scottish heritage here.
Yes.
Influenced by 19-year-olds running riot.
Yeah.
But it's great. I mean, honestly, I love the energy. The energy is fantastic. And you're right about it being an indoor place because the energy kind of comes down a bit as it gets a bit colder. But when they roll in, man, in that early part of the year, it's just like, oh, and it's summer and it's warm. And so everyone's just out and...
it's the Pearl Jam documentary that it's called 20. And there's a line in the start. Cameron Crowe made it, and there's a line at the start. He said, "The Seattle musical explosion of the 1990s came from a place where people have to be indoors all the time because Seattle's got just rains all the time. It's known as a shitty climate, right? And so people stay indoors and they make music.
I wonder if that's because wasn't Starbucks from there as well? I wonder if that's why that same sort of thing. We stay warm and get a coffee. So get a coffee and watch music.
It could be the same thing with Dunedin as well because Dunedin's internationally renowned for the Dunedin sound.
There you go. Yeah,
there's a documentary coming out on the 1st of May about the Chills.
Okay.
And it's just been to South by Southwest, done really well apparently.
Cool.
And we're going to have is it the director or the producer?
I think it was the director.
We're going to have them come in and have a chat as well. So so there is that as well. It's really interesting.
I did. What's his name? Martin. Is that the Chills?
Scorsese.
No. From the Chills. From the Chills.
Oh, the lead singer.
Yeah. What's his name? Martin. God, what's his last name?
He's evading me.
Martin Phillips.
Martin Phillips. Yes. So I played the Nelson Festival of the Arts a couple of years ago, and they did a porphyry to welcome all the artists, and we had nothing planned, and you've got to do a waiata and a porphyry, and there was me and the Chills and a couple other I don't know, I can't remember, actors or whatever putting on a play, and we had nothing planned, so I just banged out like Tu Te Ramaina Iwi by myself.
Yeah.
And then, with no accompaniment. And then I went, okay, so cool, we've done it then. And then Martin Phillips just said, have you got a guitar? And just played a Chills song with the Chills. It was really awesome.
So you technically opened for the Chills.
I did.
That was great. You put it on your CV?
I should do that.
There you go. I've opened for the Chills. Like I always put on my CV, I'm an international model. Because it's true.
Why is that?
I did a gig once. You know how American companies sometimes, come to small countries like New Zealand because they get a cheap deal. I did a photo shoot for a quarry. It was a company that
you look like someone that could work at a quarry.
It was a company that made things like scales for weighing all the stuff coming out of the ground, and I did a shoot for it. So and it's used in America. So technically, I am an international model.
Great.
So, and I can claim that.
Great. I love that.
Hey, you're looking really good.
Thanks.
Are you on a bit of a health kick or have been at some stage?
Oh, I lost a bunch of weight a couple of years ago. I just started running. So, and I still do it.
And how's it going for you?
It's fine. I've sort of plateaued now, but it just fell off over about a year. And then I've managed to keep it off. But, I can't really change my diet or drinking habits. So I had to do something else.
So you got to up the energy levels to plateau the input.
Very much so, yeah.
Really good. And that's working for you in life? You feel better, feel healthier?
Yeah, much better, yeah, absolutely, yeah. All those things. Yeah, it's incredible. You need less sleep.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird thing. You move more, but you need less sleep. You don't want to eat as much, weirdly. You don't want to eat shit food. You don't have those cravings for junk food as much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your full-time gig at the moment, comedy?
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys do. I wanted to talk to you about comedy because comedy worldwide seems to be massive at the moment. I don't know the influence of Netflix and that kind of stuff with everyone getting special. I don't say that in a derogatory way, meaning like
I think
anyone can get a special.
But there are too many specials.
But it seems to be going massively, and I'm wondering how that. Has that influenced New Zealand? Is it doing well? Is it enough for like musicians typically in New Zealand have to do something else? Stand up comedy.
Sure. I mean, I'm lucky because of there's the sort of bunch of us from the main cast in 7 Days, and that gives you good income, and people know you from that, and there's corporate work and stuff like that, so that come from that. So that's it is my only gig. I mean, I've only been a comedian. I haven't had a job since I worked in the radio. 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Another job, but I feel like it is shrinking slightly at the moment. It does. It tends to, like any industry.
Shrinking meaning there's not the same opportunities today as there were, say, 12 months ago?
Yeah, or even 5-10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, well, maybe not 10 years ago, but certainly 5 years ago. It is much harder to break into. So I fortunately got in at the right time. But if I was a young comic today, there's also a lot more people starting out trying to be comedians as well. Way more than there used to be.
Yeah.
And to get established or to get known in any ways, there's not a lot of opportunities in New Zealand at the moment.
So someone was coming along wanting to take the path to be a stand-up in New Zealand today, a harder path than it was 15, 20 years ago.
Absolutely. If I think of young comics that have become well known in the last couple of years, have like a real fan base in New Zealand, there's probably Melanie Bracewell and Pax Asadi would be the two that I could say that they're not quite household names, but they're relatively well known, and they're only sort of 4 years into their career and they're relatively well known. Whereas 5-10 years ago, there was because of 7 Days and because of Jono and Ben and because of other vehicles like that, there was a rush of people that came to into the public consciousness at once, and that's a bit of a that's not a closed shop. We obviously have new people on 7 Days all the time, but to sort of become a regular member and a well-known member is much harder now.
And because the core is still there. I mean, the core would be you, Elwood, Ursula, Josh.
Yeah.
They'll be the kind of 4 regular.
Yeah, and obviously Paul.
Oh, the captains.
I would say that's the touring group, isn't it? Oh, and Justine Smith. Yeah, I would say as well. Yeah.
Interesting to see Ursula's success over in Australia now as well.
I mean, incredible.
She's
more well known there than she is here.
I saw that she is South Africa's ambassador, like tourism ambassador to Australia, while she lives in New Zealand.
Yeah, incredible. She got the absolute VIP treatment taken over by South African tourism, and just given the works. It's really cool.
So what's the like, where to from here for you? I mean, like, it's interesting that I think about the arts. I think about comedy, I think about music, I think about acting, that kind of stuff. And acting in New Zealand seems to be a difficult one unless you're on Shortland Street. Although the film industry in perhaps Wellywood might be helping a few people at the moment. But
sure,
do your skills more lead towards if you wanted to call it rock? You could be in there if you wanted to. If the afternoon or evening gigs for emceeing will always be there. Yeah,
they will. I hope. I mean, if 7 Days was finished at the end of this year forever, then there'd be a few years of probably riding off the back of that notoriety, and then that would become less unless I was.
Do you worry about it? Do you worry about being fickle?
Of course. I mean, I've never made long-term goals ever.
Right.
Yeah, I've always my thing was just I just want to make a living from this, and then you started making a living. I was like, I wouldn't mind to make a little bit better of a living.
Yeah.
And then and now it's like I make a nice living, and I just want to keep it going. You know what I mean?
Keep having a nice living.
Yeah, and you got to be smart with your money, and not not put it up your nose.
But you come and do something like The Fringe.
I'm not sure. I mean, in New Zealand, that really your money. You go through a lot.
I've never even seen cocaine.
Ever?
No. I've never seen it. I mean, I was involved in theatre and television and radio and after parties. I've literally never seen cocaine.
It's hard. I mean, it's not readily available in New Zealand. No, it's extremely expensive.
I think I've seen it once, and that was when I was at an advertising agency's Christmas party.
There you go.
In the toilets.
It's a perfect example of advertising.
That's how they pay you in advertising.
I think they watch too many episodes of Mad Men.
Yeah, totally. I have seen it.
Say no more. We'll leave that conversation right there.
I lived in London for 4 years, remember? Right. So yeah, there's that.
Where's the I don't know. I was going to ask you then.
That's all right. I'll continue. It's certainly something. Worry's not quite the right word. It's something to be conscious of. I think is that I've got a family now and a mortgage and stuff like that. So it's,
how do you get a mortgage as a comedian?
Well, it's not easy.
I mean, I run a couple of businesses, and I've just recently refinanced, and that was a shit show just running a business. Let alone, you going, what's your projected income as a comedian? You go, I kind of live in the now.
Get some good laughs from your bank manager.
I've got a very good mortgage broker who's my brother-in-law.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but it's just showing. This is a weird thing to be talking about, but that's fine. It's just showing an earning record.
Yeah, right.
But you've got to show over like 3 years or something.
Yeah. And you have the stability of things like 7 days.
Yeah, and I've just had a reasonable income for the last few years. So that's all the bank wants to see.
You didn't think you were going to come in here and talk about how much money you're earning today, I suspect.
Well, no, I haven't. And it's all relative, so...
We're changing tact as a podcast. From now on, it's going to be Money Matters with Pat Bridgerton.
It's all relative.
I'm really interested to talk to you about comedy in general.
Okay.
I'm interested, first of all, just to take a step back. Where are the places that aren't conservative for comedy? You said Dunedin is particularly...
A little bit.
A little bit conservative.
A little bit.
You can see it, hands behind them. Where would be somewhere that...
Christchurch is quite conservative too.
So does that mean some jokes don't work and then you'd avoid some jokes here?
Not really, no. I don't really... At this stage in my career, I just do my thing.
Yeah.
And if they don't like me,
yeah.
I don't care. Obviously I care a little bit. But there's something about a fringe or an arts festival that attracts a different kind of crowd slightly.
Well, expecting potentially something a bit edgier or something a bit on the edges?
Yeah, maybe.
Fringy?
Yeah. The show that I'm doing is supposed to be escapism and just silliness this time. I've done, high concept shows for the last few years, so I just wanted to do a lot of stream of consciousness, silliness, and a lot of just stories and oh, look at that! You've gone to my website.
You've got Ben Hurley's website. That's a very attractive man.
I was just seeing if there's anything about your shows or anything that you're doing at the moment, but no.
No, it just takes you to my agent.
What about booking those?
Yeah.
So it's a fringe festival.
Yeah, I just
people expect something a bit
artier.
Yeah, okay,
is what I would say. Yeah, slightly artier, just more of a a Radio New Zealand crowd, maybe, if you know what I mean. If that tends to explain it a little more.
Yeah.
Then comedy club. Where it's
more boozy and
a bit more blue collar, probably.
Yeah. And are you someone who likes the big crowds, the small intimate crowds?
Love it all. I just always wanted to be a comedian.
Do you change anything of that? Do you like, if it's a smaller and more intimate crowd, is it a different delivery or a different style, or is it you have your 60-minute set and that's your touring for that year?
For that year, yeah. You can't. I mean, maybe little tweaks here and there, but not a lot. It's I heard somebody say a really interesting observation about Michael McIntyre, and whatever you think about Michael McIntyre, it's not, whether you think he's good or whether you think he's very mainstream or whatever, it's not really the point. Like, he's objectively a good comedian, and whether you like him or not, it's different. It's like a guitarist. Like, you might not like Dire Straits, but Mark Knopfler is a good guitarist, right? Do you know what I mean? So he is a good comedian, and someone made a very interesting observation saying that he plays a stadium like it's a 100-seater comedy club.
Right.
And it makes you feel like you're right there. And that's some of the, obviously it's very mainstream stuff, and it's, isn't airline food weird or whatever, and that's fine. It's relatively clean, and it's and that's his broad appeal as well. But his skill to be able to make you feel like you're right next to the stage, even though you're fucking miles away.
Yeah.
That's it's genuine skill.
It's interesting. You use the word comedian for him. And I was just thinking as you're saying it, because I watch him and I think entertainer. Is a comedian different from a stand-up comedian? Like, would you still consider him a stand-up comedian? Because I watch what he does in that kind of show sometimes. I see clips of it here and there, and it feels like he is... It's kind of back to, it's a Billy T. It's the entertaining of the big... And I'm not saying this like in a bad way.
No, I know what you're saying. No, he's definitely a stand-up. I mean, I used to work with him when I was in England, and he was... he was a circuit headliner, and I'd be an MC or an opening act, and I worked with him all the time. And it was just as I left, actually, he just blew up into this mega kind of, stadium act.
Well, it's interesting because he sells stadiums out all over Europe, and no one in America's heard of him.
No,
he's got his gig and he's got his lane and he's doing frickin' well.
Yeah, and as I say, it's not for everyone, but I try and use the guitarist analogy. You might not like the song, but there's no doubt that he's good at playing his instrument.
Yeah.
I don't mean that. That sounded penisy. I'm sure he's good at that too.
So in New Zealand, I watch and listen to a lot of comedy.
Yeah,
like
cool.
on Spotify, on YouTube, on Netflix. Probably there wouldn't be a week go by that I wouldn't watch something or listen to it. I love it.
I watch none.
Really?
None.
Is there a reason for that? Like you don't want it to influence you?
A little bit. Also, you know, I like it live. I don't really enjoy recorded comedy that much, so it's just not. It's not the same. You know what it's like. It's two different things.
There's something about the live experience, and actually last time because Elwood came and did this last year.
Yes,
and I recall I told him this story. I was actually at a 7-day shoot with him and his parents.
Oh yes,
and one of the girls on one of the teams told the most filthy story and derogatory joke about being a netball player.
Okay.
And it was the funniest part of the whole night.
Great.
And it didn't make the cut.
Yeah, wow.
So that to me is always kind of the quintessential example of the live experience versus the recorded. What do you miss? Like I watch Jimmy Carr. I don't really like those one-line comedians so much.
Me neither.
But what I like about watching him is I like his interactions with the crowd. But I always go, geez, I bet this bit went on for about 40 minutes and they've shown 5 minutes of it. I wonder what else happened on the night that didn't make the final cut.
It was like that bit he did on one of his shows where he came out for his encore and he just did, he said, I'm just going to tell progressively more filthy jokes and I'll get off the stage when you stop laughing.
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy's very talented writer and... you know, he's not really my cup of tea either.
Yeah, stand up. I do like his. I mean, 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown is one of my favourite shows.
Yeah.
So I really like his presenting and stuff as well.
I mean, sitting at home watching a special on my own or with my wife, we do it very occasionally,
right?
And very specific people.
So who would you watch?
Well, one of them we can't watch anymore because he masturbated in front of a lot of his colleagues.
Yeah, that was from that whole Me Too movement, and I'm not saying that like that bloody movement. I'm saying when that came out, you have these moments where you kind of go, oh, please don't be involved.
I know.
Not you.
I know.
I just started watching Horace and Pete. Oh, not you.
I know.
No, oh, not Louis. No.
Yeah.
So
and he was
the one.
He was one of the worst. I loved him. But a lot of his charm was you felt like he was a good guy.
Yeah,
and
a good dad, a good guy,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's still a good dad, but you lose a bit of the public trust, don't you? A bit or all of the public trust.
I have heard, and I have no opinion or idea about this. I have heard some people say in the last couple of months, wait till the full story comes out about those incidents.
Sure.
Not to defend him and not to say I know what's going on, but it will be interesting to see where to from here. And people saying things like if it was to happen today, because even in that Me Too movement, there seems to have been a high point. Not that it's high like good, but a point, and
where it was had its highest profile. I
guess.
Yep.
Yeah. So I am interested in that from a news consumer as opposed to a comedy fan, to see if anything else does come out about that particular one.
But I love a comedy club, and so also an hour of anyone is a bit of a challenge.
Do you watch
for
the
me.
Chappelle specials?
I'd rather watch 10 minutes of Dave Chappelle of anyone really, not just Dave Chappelle. But yeah, an hour of Chappelle would be
too much.
Yeah, it's just not my first love is to watch recorded comedy. I see enough of it, when I'm working.
So when you go to a comedy club, are you the guy who sits in the club and wants to see the other people? Are you out the back talking to the other comedians?
Oh, a mixture of the two, but I like to watch. I mean, there was a late show here in Dunedin last night, and I went and watched some people I'd never seen before, and that was fun. And
good? Enjoyed them?
Yeah.
So would you go as far to say you'd rather see those guys live than pre-recorded as well, because it's more about the experience?
Of course.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I've been enjoying a show called Crashing, which is about comedy.
Yeah.
Do you know about this?
No, I haven't heard it. Haven't seen it.
Oh, it's great. It's you'll love it. In fact, it's a guy called Pete Holmes, who's like a Midwest clean comedian.
Yeah.
And he goes, he gets divorced and goes to New York and tries to make it as a stand-up. It's the most real account of trying to be a stand-up of stand-up in America.
So it's a scripted piece.
It is. It's him and Judd Apatow wrote it. and
Judd Apatow.
Yeah, of course. There it is. There, that's him there. So he's this. He wants to be like Jim Gaffigan, and actually, I watched his special recently.
Yeah, that just popped up on Netflix. What did you think of that?
I thought it was great.
Yeah?
Yeah. He's a clean comedian. I am not a clean comedian. And it's the most real account of comedy and stand-up that I've ever seen.
All right. Well, we'll make sure we put that in the link of the Facebook so people can watch it.
It's on HBO. It's hard to get. You can't get HBO shows here unless you got Sky.
Everything.
Yeah, okay.
You can get everything.
Okay.
He says unofficially. Although I have just, be honest with you, not that this is a plug, I have just ordered Sky TV.
Wow, I've not heard of somebody who's signed up to Sky.
Because
everyone's leaving Sky.
I know. I haven't been with Sky for 7 or 8 years.
You're a sports fan, I can tell from your hat.
Yep.
So you'll need it for that.
Well, no, it's actually because Vodafone, no sponsors here, so there's no payment for this. Sure. They've done this whole sign-up deal for Vodafone TV, get Sky Sport free for a year.
Oh, okay,
and the difference in the bill that I'm paying now and the bill I will be paying is $7 a month.
Oh, there you go.
So I thought,
great,
I'll sign up to Sky TV and get Sky Sport for $7 a month.
Yeah. But you got to get Soho channel. See, you know what? We say like, oh, we don't illegally download things, but you know, it's fucking HBO's fault that we can't, that they haven't launched their HBO app here.
Well, and also the model of that television is wrong. It's the wrong way to do TV.
It is.
So I respectfully, I do watch things online at times for nothing, but I also sign up to things. I belong to Amazon Prime. I belong to Netflix.
Yes.
I just. It's interesting, you know, Game of Thrones was the biggest downloaded show in the world for free, like illegally, and that's the thing that made it the biggest show in the world.
Right.
And then the Grand Tour, Amazon Prime, the guys from Top Gear, became the new largest free downloaded thing in the world illegally. And again, that's the thing that's driven all the traffic back to Amazon Prime. So you can...
Driven traffic.
See?
Nice word.
See what we did there? Dragoned. And it dragoned them all back for the other one or something like that. I couldn't do it twice. Sorry.
Yeah, I do have not a lot of sympathy for companies that haven't launched properly in New Zealand. You know, if they don't, people are going to find it. They're going to find a way to get it.
Yeah, and look, the model of terrestrial and satellite television is wrong anyway. It's not going to work. I mean, all you got to do is look at what's happening in this medium, right? Even though we are broadcasting live now on video to Facebook and YouTube, we are ultimately a podcast. And the model that's happening with media over the world is free content to the consumer because they expect it. So actually paid content is not the way to go. No. I mean, if you can do something like Netflix, who charge us $15 a month and they're putting like $3, $4, $5 billion a year into product, that's a bit different, but no one else is doing
It's
that.
a great price point, Netflix, because you don't notice it, do you?
Yeah. Although I do flick through occasionally and go, nah.
Of course.
Nah.
You probably consume a lot more content than I do. But sometimes I find it almost the opposite. Sometimes I just go through. It's like you go to a Chinese restaurant and there's 80 dishes and you're like, it all looks great. Like
one of everything.
But I can't. But I don't want to go all in on one thing.
I'll go one of everything and go for a run afterwards. Thanks. That'll be me.
Yeah. So I find the menu a bit big for. I mean, they call it the golden age of television.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a TV show. It's weird.
Really?
Yeah.
So I would have thought the 90s would have been the golden age of television. You know, the Seinfelds and that kind of stuff would have been when it was biggest. Because at the moment, I mean, television is dying on some level. I mean,
terrestrial is, but I mean, Netflix and all those. It is so much out there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. The content is crazy. Yeah.
Because that's the thing with the Netflix makes niche stuff. You know, back in the day, if you had a TV network, you had to make something that would appeal to the most amount of people because they were watching at 8:30 and they had 3 choices.
Yes, of course.
And now Netflix, you can give them whatever they want whenever they want it. So you can make something that's really niche, but that niche will still find an audience of 5 million people globally. You know.
Yeah, that's one thing I miss though, is that we all used to watch the same show
and then talk about it the
next day. And nobody's seen it. And you can't talk about anything because even if it's Game of Thrones, they might not have be up to where you're up to or whatever.
I know. Spoiler alert.
And Game of Thrones is the last show, and it possibly will be the last ever show like that. That not everyone, but a huge proportion of the world have seen and are up to date.
What's the countdown, Jace? Put Game of Thrones countdown in there, please. And bring it up on the screen for the rest of the podcast. I think we're 3 weeks away from is it something like that? Game of Thrones countdown, please. Yeah, well, I've got. You see, they literally have a countdown going. I'm sure there it is. 17 days, 2 hours, 18 minutes, 30 seconds.
My wife absolutely loves Game of Thrones, and I'm very annoying to her in many ways. But one of the ways is that it's all right. I can take it or leave it. So sometimes I'll miss half an episode, sit down, and go, "Oh, so hang on, who's that guy again? I thought she was married to him. Hang on, aren't they brother and sister?"
Now, is this being married to Ben Hurley, or is this being married to a comedian? Is everyone going to do this?
No, I don't even do it on purpose, really. I'm just inherently annoying. It's just part of my DNA.
So are you someone who's actually looking forward to it and genuinely, or don't really care?
I'll definitely watch them because these are all like feature length.
I think so. Yeah. Like 90-minute episodes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mental.
Yeah.
I watched so I've started watching it. This is my trajectory of Game of Thrones. I started watching it. It was like season 2. It got a bit wordy. And I tapped out, right? And then came back to it about 3 series ago when it started getting really good again.
Right.
And that last series with the with the dragons and everything, that was proper good.
That the whatever her name is, Khaleesi.
Yeah.
That season where they basically had her off, trapped, without the dragons flying. I was just like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. This could have been, the last season should have been last year. I think you just pushed it up a little bit with that.
Yeah.
I did watch it, but come on. Let's just get to let's get to the finish.
Very much so. Were you a Dungeons and Dragons guy?
I wasn't a lot. My daughter, my 15-year-old, turned 15 yesterday, is huge into D&D. It's coming back.
I've heard that it's coming back. I was a little bit. There was a window there when I was about 13 that I was into it.
I never owned anything.
I have a book.
But I went to boarding school.
Ah.
And so often on a Saturday afternoon, there'd be a game.
Yes.
And I'd join in on that.
Yes.
Or we'd gamble. That would be the other thing. And that would be the other table.
Okay.
For our silver and gold coins.
There was another game involving a biscuit, wasn't there?
I never recall that. No, I never recall that. So
I very much went to a public school. This is the only way I get to make fun of people who went to posh schools.
I didn't go to posh school.
Oh, well.
Catholic school.
Oh, Catholic school.
Integrated.
Oh, yeah. Where?
So, Sacred Heart College in
Auckland.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Brendan Lovegrove went there.
Yes. Yeah. He was quite a few people went there actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brendan Lovegrove was a few years ahead of me.
Okay. Yes.
I never met him. Don't know him, but he may have been there when I was there, but 3 or 4 years ahead.
So what is it? But he went to Dilworth as well. Is that?
Don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Jason Hoyt as well. Anyway,
don't know.
Anyway.
Yes, so, and the Finns and the Dobbins and Sean Fitzpatrick and there's a bunch of people. At one stage, I remember when I was at school, we had Kieran Crowley at fullback.
Yes.
Sean Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
And there's another one.
Kieran Crowley, because I grew up in Taranaki, so
the Crowleys all went there.
Kieran Crowley was, because when we first moved there and I was a little kid and. Kieran Crowley was this local celebrity because he played like 3 midweek games for the All Blacks. And Bull Allen was the other one.
Bull Allen, I remember him.
Yeah, so
he really damaged his neck or something, had to give up rugby.
Yeah.
And then joined Destiny Church.
Correct. That's what I was just about to say. He's now Destiny Church.
Is he still there?
He was a proper, like a philanderer when he was a rugby player.
It's a good word.
So he went the other way.
I do feel like the 1870s has just come back with that word.
I love that word.
Terrible philanderer.
A philanderer. I mean, a slut, really. Let's just say what it is. He was a slut.
The interesting thing, I mean, jumping around to the Me Too movement as well. I mean, can you imagine if, like, I had this conversation. I can't remember who it was with. Someone here on the podcast. Oh no, it was Greg Johnson actually. Because obviously, it was obviously those.
Love Greg Johnson.
In the 80s and 90s and that kind of stuff. When I consider him maybe not for commercial success, but it's the Finns and the Dobbins and the Johnsons and the those guys are all classmates. For want of a better word.
Yep.
I just can't imagine if everyone was held to account for their actions of 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, who would be left standing today, including your average, lawyer or doctor or teacher or that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of come to the conclusion, and maybe I'm completely wrong, and I'm happy to be told I'm completely wrong, that it seems unfair to judge someone's moral standards of yesteryear based on the moral standards of today, but it's completely appropriate to judge someone's legal standing of yesteryear based on the legal standing of today. In other words, criminal activity of 20 years ago.
Yes, it's still criminal.
It's still criminal activity. Moral standards of 20 years ago. It seems to me, and I don't want to put a blanket statement on it because there are, I mean, maybe the Louis C.K. is an example, which is appalling. But saying that I'm judging you for this action of 20 years ago in a moral standing based on my understanding of societal morals today.
So when you say moral, you mean like if someone did a gay joke, for example?
Yeah, I mean,
20 years ago.
what's his name from the Oscars?
Yeah, so Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart, and he had already apologised for that, and he'd said sorry, and he said I was wrong, and he said I've learned and I've evolved. And I mean, the stuff that I did when I was in my teens and 20s that I've learned and evolved from.
Of course.
To be held account to those words today, I don't know who would be left standing.
Yeah. Yeah, for words, I suppose. Words, it's the difference between words and actions, isn't it?
Totally. And that's the thing about the crimes versus the maybe morals is the wrong word.
Wanking in front of women's always been bad. Unless they've asked for it.
Yeah.
Which is unlikely.
Yeah. Agreed. So let's leave Louis C.K. out of it.
Yeah.
And let's just say, let's say jokes. I mean, I'm fascinated by the joke situation as well. I had a conversation with someone here in Dunedin several weeks ago about, and they were very upset that Ricky Gervais had made a joke about Caitlyn Jenner.
Yes.
And the joke was basically about women drivers. When he talks about it. And his Ricky Gervais's position was, I'm not making a joke about being transgender. I'm making a joke. It's almost like a sexist joke of the ages about women driving.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And we got into this conversation about it. And the position that this person took was, if you're not part of the group, you can't make a joke about it. And that seems to be purveying itself through some parts of society. You hear people like Bill Maher and even Jerry Seinfeld and stuff won't play universities at the moment. And I thought, and the conversation with this person then rolled on to, well, who can make the joke? So therefore, I grew up Catholic, so I can make Catholic jokes, but this person didn't, so they can't. So where is the line? How do you stop it? How do you do comedy these days with any of that kind of stuff hanging around?
Well, I think herein lies the truth of it, and that is you can do it.
Yeah.
But there will, this is the whole, you can't say this, you can't do that. You can say whatever the fuck you want, but there's going to be consequences to that. So your free speech advocates who say, you can't say anything anymore. You absolutely can, but there will be consequences to those words that you're saying, and some people are going to get upset. So, playing a university, it's a little bit of a captive audience, and you're going to get, so if you're Bill Maher and you go to a university, people are going to go just because it's on, right?
Yeah.
And there's not much else to do or whatever. And so there are going to be people there that aren't familiar necessarily with what you do. But if you've ever seen Bill Maher, you know what Bill Maher does. And if you want to go see him, you go and buy a ticket. So it's the difference between a comedy club and going and seeing a specific comedian. So you can...
Right. So comedy club, you could come up with 10 comedians, you've heard none of them. But buying a ticket to Jimmy Carr again, he's a filthy mother who tells like A plus B jokes.
Correct. But if you're surprised at going to the comedy club and there's a dude on, it definitely will be a dude doing this, and he does some racist material, then you'd be upset because you're like, I didn't expect this, right? But if you wanted to see somebody who did a racist joke specifically, you would go and pay for a ticket to them specifically.
Yeah. And buying that ticket, it's almost like a transaction saying, I'm accepting your racist jokes because I've done it.
And this is the whole other thing of, some people believe that a joke is a joke is a joke. Like, it might be racist in content, but I don't mean it. It's a joke.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily a subscriber to that particular philosophy, but I do understand it. I do understand the idea that in this bubble that is the comedy club or the theatre, that you've gone in going, this person's going to say this. It may have racist or transphobic or homophobic overtones, but I don't mean it.
That's an interesting one as well. I heard a conversation between a couple of comics the other day. I was watching something, I don't know what it is. and they were talking about, because I was joking, you know it's a joke, and I can't remember what the joke was, and it might have been a joke about some kind of horrific event.
Sure.
Like committing a horrific event.
Okay.
And the comedian went, who really thought I was going to perpetrate that event? Of course, no one puts their hands up. And the point they made was the audience knows when we're joking, and they know when we get angry. And they talked about Michael Richards, you know, that famous when he lost it, and there's a N-word in the he's a N-word, and he got angry, and the audience knew he wasn't joking. So when the audience knows you're joking, obviously there might be a little bit of grey area there, but that seems to be within comedy the acceptable line. If it's obviously a joke, then it's a joke.
Yeah, and I don't know what my opinion is about this because I can see both sides.
Do you joke? Is there anything you won't joke about?
Yeah, loads.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like by choice, like if you came across an angle for something, or you just, there's stuff you won't touch no matter what.
Yeah, I just... yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's my own personal choice, and I can't really even tell you what they are off the top of my head, but I just do the things that I think are funny.
Yeah.
I just say the things that I think are funny, and if you know, I'm more controversial than some comedians and less than others. Right. Yeah.
People know you through. Do you ever get that thing that they know you through 7 days, and that might not be who you are when you're doing a set?
Yeah. In fact, I think I found a bit of that last night actually. Because 7 days demographics got a bit older, as we have.
Okay.
And I feel like sometimes the 7 days Ben Hurley fan will come along and go, "Oh, it's stand-up's a bit different. It's a bit more on the edge."
Ever do you ever have that kind of I wasn't expecting this, I didn't enjoy this, or just are they more like
I can just see their faces sometimes.
You can see. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
okay.
this is the which is, and who's the real Ben Hurley? Do they ever try and figure that out?
Maybe they do. I don't know. They're watching. I'm more myself doing stand-up than I am on TV.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And because I guess also what we just talked about earlier about the recorded thing. I mean, you might be yourself in 7 days, but then that might be edited down to...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's you know, there's another step of filter, I suppose. Yeah. Between the real me and the perceived me on television.
Why don't New Zealand comedians seem to have that cycle of 1 year, or maybe it's longer in New Zealand, 18 months, 2 years special? Why don't we have a tradition of our guys putting out specials like the rest of the world seems to be?
Just no one's doing it.
Why not though? Why aren't we? Why isn't TVNZ or TV3 gone, you know, Ben, Di, Jeremy, or is it that people don't want to?
So we did do it. There's about 6 of us did specials. Oh, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And they got played on, and they did okay, but they just didn't rate huge. But they did okay.
Ursula, and who else has done the international one on Netflix?
Cal Wilson was the other.
Oh, Cal.
Yeah.
She's still a Kiwi. She's living in Melbourne still.
Who knows? Yeah.
Is that going to open up opportunities for Netflix for Kiwis doing full hours?
I hope so. Netflix doesn't really have a local, you know, presence at the moment, which is I'd love to change.
Actually, if you think about it as well, it doesn't really have an Australian presence either. I mean, I'm just trying to think about what's on Netflix. Obviously, I don't know everything, but it seems to really be American dominated, UK coming up second, and then everything else a far distant third.
Far distant third, yeah. I mean, I guess they don't need it.
Yeah.
But that may change. I mean, it's a real opportunity for one of the streaming platforms to go. You know, we're gonna put more local content on.
Yeah. Are you and so what I was going to get to was, do you have like a 12-month cycle with your stuff, or are you still touring on stuff that you know chatted about you 24 months ago?
Oh yeah, I mean it's quite fluid, you know. Old stuff comes back, and I write new stuff, and it's and it's kind of situational as well. You know, I haven't been in Dunedin for 4 years.
Wow.
So I haven't done a show in Dunedin for 4 years, so it's something that I can can go back into the archives a little bit.
And you're aware of that? You have like calendars, I haven't been here since there, so. Is it a planning process? Is there an algorithm for this?
Some people do. Ewan Gilmore used to date his set list. So we do a set list and then date it, and so he knew what he did, where he did it.
Wow.
I'm a bit more fluid on stage, so I don't always know what it. I try and go in with no plan a lot of the time, unless I'm doing a specific show.
Okay.
I try and go in with no plan and just see where it goes.
So does that mean tonight's show at the Fringe might be fairly different from last night's, or because you've done last night, that's fresh in the mind? It'll be fairly similar, but again, like who knows? I try to chat to the crowd quite a lot, and so that dictates where things go. Yeah.
The way I describe it is it's like a Rolodex.
Right.
Of material in my head.
And you go, let's get that one.
That one, yeah. Such an old... anyone under 40 will have no idea what a Rolodex is.
So what would be the equivalent of a Rolodex today? What are we flicking through?
A spreadsheet?
No, even that. That's... Maybe it's a contacts list or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
Apple Notes on your phone.
Apple Notes.
Yeah. Apple Notes on my phone. I use that all the time. People used to have notebooks. I just type
so you're a writer. You said you write. Is that how you plan? Are you like you write down your stuff, or are you a get on stage, try it out? Hey, that worked.
I have an idea that can come to me whenever.
Yeah.
Usually driving, but whenever. Sometimes just before I go to sleep. They're always the worst ones. Also, you write down a few words that might remind you of them, and you wake up in the morning and you look at your note and it says like. Apple shoes or whatever, and what the fuck does that mean?
It's like when you play Pictionary drunk and you look at the photo and you go, "What the hell? What was that?"
So I have the idea, and then I usually try and do it on stage and make my brain finish it.
Right, so you might go in with a part idea and to see where it goes.
See where it goes.
That's pretty cool. That's riffing, improving almost, and seeing what. And do you record your set so you can go home and you can check it out?
No, I've got a pretty good memory, so I can just kind of remember how it went. I have recorded my sets, but I never listened to them. I did a whole tour last year. I did 12 dates and recorded every single one. I've not listened to a fucking minute of them.
Well, why don't you turn that into something to go on Spotify?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
We should talk afterwards.
Okay, sure.
Get the editing clear out.
Yeah.
See, that's the other thing. I mean, it's so easy in this day and age to put content out.
Yeah, it is.
Ben Hurley on Spotify. Piece of cake.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it. I love it.
I was just thinking, you've got, obviously, we had a PhD student in last night, and we were chatting to him about the events at Christchurch. Horrific events, terrorist attack. I'm not going to drop that word. I'm concerned that the media is starting to talk about all the events in Christchurch. They weren't events. It was a terrorist attack.
It was a Nazi terrorist attack.
Yes, absolutely. White supremacist, Nazi. I'm not going to refer to them as, 2 weeks ago, the terrible happenings. No, it was a terrorist attack.
I mean, I've got daughters 8 and 6, and strange names. That's what we went for. I had to talk to them about that, and they got home on the Friday afternoon, and my eldest, she's they're both very sharp, but my eldest saw that I had a face, and my wife had heard as well, had heard the news, and we didn't really know how to talk to them about it then, so we just sent them upstairs and they watched TV for 3 hours, which is very unusual for us.
Right. Yeah. Hey girls.
Yeah.
You should just go
and watch TV, because we obviously
go and watch Netflix.
We were glued to the news, and we
of course
didn't really want them to see that. So, but the next morning, we sort of sat them down and had a proper chat, and it was, they understood to a certain degree, but they did ask why. Why would someone do that?
Yeah.
And I had to explain the concept of a Nazi. It was the only way I could really explain. I didn't say white supremacist, because I thought that was probably a concept that was maybe too complex, but I just said a Nazi is someone who hates other people that aren't like them.
Right.
Yeah. Which is not entirely accurate.
And you said 6 and 8? How did they...
6 and 8, yeah.
Did they take that on board? Is that they understood?
Yes, but particularly the 8-year-old. She's they develop that sort of sense of empathy around 7 and 8 apparently, and she definitely did, and she was definitely more affected by it than the younger one, who was sad but didn't quite understand.
Did you have any gigs and stuff on around those days? Did you approach things differently for the next couple of days?
I didn't actually. I didn't have anything until the following weekend, just coincidentally. But the Classic Comedy Bar in Auckland, that they went ahead that night on the Friday. Some other shows got cancelled. I was actually going to play a fundraising cricket game on the Sunday for the police, and that got cancelled. And
there was no police left in Auckland.
Well, no, I think that was it. They didn't really say why. They said because of the events in Christchurch, but we're not going to go ahead. But it sort of worked out later that it's because all the cops are on high alert. And I think they're working more shifts around the clock.
And it is difficult to buy all those googlies with a Glock attached to your hip for safety.
So, yeah, it's so weird seeing cops with sidearms.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. It's horrific. It's unfathomable. You guys being your mates, group of comedians, you're going to do something for it.
So that weekend, I felt helpless, as many of us did, and I thought, well, I have few discernible skills, but one of them is putting on comedy gigs. So that's the only thing I could think to do. And so the Court Theatre in Christchurch, she's given us a venue for free, and everyone. There's a group of local comics who are going on, but I think there's 7 of us who are paying our own flights down from Auckland to go and and perform in Christchurch. We wanted to do it in Christchurch as well, because not only are we raising money, but we also want to say, Nazi punks, fuck off.
Is that going to be the title of the? It should be. That should be the title of the Nazi punks, fuck off.
Yeah, it should be.
You know what? Hey, you know what? Okay, sorry, this is the marketer in me. I would buy that T-shirt.
Yeah. Well, it's a song, right? The Dead Kennedy song.
Yeah, but I would buy that T-shirt. I mean, you're looking at fundraising.
It's a great idea.
I would buy that T-shirt.
Yeah, I think
you probably wouldn't have it in my size, but I would buy that T-shirt. So just if you want to make some fun, go connect with Mr. Vintage as well. If people are going to help out,
I'll just
Nazi punks, fuck off.
I'll just call Jello Biafra and make sure that he's okay with us making some money off his song.
Well, then just change it slightly. Nazi with an S. Nazi. No, that might get confusing after that.
Yeah, exactly.
So when is that gig?
10th of April.
So that's only a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, I think it's almost sold out. So it's, we did a thing where we're like, tickets are $30 or you can pay more, and a bunch of people have paid like $100.
Okay, recording it?
No, there we go. There's an opportunity. We should live stream it. That's a good idea. Yeah.
We can. Jace, are we available?
Why not?
There you go.
That was
We're available. Multi-camera live stream. We can do that for you.
Please, let's do it. We actually did.
You could do that, and you could set up a paywall, and you could raise more money.
True. I think that was what we did when Wade Jackson put on a fundraiser in Auckland for the Christchurch earthquake.
Right.
And we sold out the Civic, which is huge, like 3,000 people, 2.5, something like that. And they live streamed it and put up a paywall and made heaps of money off that. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And then after the paywall, it can stay there. And people can
fundraised, he didn't make money. Yeah.
How does it work when you say, I want to raise money for charity?
Yes.
Have you already connected with a charity? Like, where does the money literally go after they go?
It's a good question. I didn't really know. So I think we're just going to give it to that Give a Little page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you'll basically have a chunk of cash.
And we'll just put it in.
Whack it on something.
Onto that, whatever it's up to, 9 million now or something.
So it's not supporting a particular cause.
Although there is one that's been set up. I believe the one that there's the big music gigs in Auckland and Christchurch that are happening fundraising. I think they've set up a charity specifically for that. So
join in.
Could just join that. Yeah.
Could just join that.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're coming to a nice natural conclusion.
Yeah.
This is what we do. It feels like it's a good time to kind of move
organic.
On. It is, and orgasmic at the same time. I was going to ask you at all. You mentioned cricket right there. You're following the Black Caps at the moment.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, because you were doing something with New Zealand cricket. That must have been fun travelling around doing a bit of, at least seeing the games.
Yeah, so
I'm sure there was politics and stuff in there like there always is, but must have been fun being able to be at the grounds and check out the games and be paid for it.
That was the best part. It was great. I did it 7 years in a row. So when I first started.
Really? You did that long?
Yeah. So what am I now? 39. So I was in my... I haven't done it for a couple of years. So I was about 30 when I first started, and it was still quite fun to be around the drunk crowds and them getting me the skull beers and stuff. But I tell you what, those last 2 years, I could not be fucked.
Are they still doing it? Have they got themselves another sucker 30-year-old comedian on board?
They do. They got they got someone much younger and much cheaper.
Much cheaper, yeah.
But he does a good job actually. But so in the year just gone, I did a bit of commentary for Sky for the domestic T20 competition, which was awesome.
Yeah. Were you involved with that? They had that TVNZ did that. There was a charity.
Oh yeah,
game.
No, I wasn't. That was the alternative cricket guys did that.
Right.
But, the alternative commentary guys. But doing the Sky Sport, it's a whole nother discipline. I always thought, I wonder if I could be a commentator, and it's just so different to it's hard, much harder.
Really?
Than you think it would be. Yeah.
Hard to hold those things up to your mouth the whole time. They're like right here.
That weird thing.
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it?
It's a weird thing.
Like here we just have these things. We go backwards and forwards, and we sound louder and we sound softer.
Yeah.
Whatever. But that's because we're not as professional as them. But
there you go. 9 million.
What is that? 9 million.
That's 9 million.
So 95,000. So what's that? Is that $10? That's $100 a person.
Is it?
Yeah, because 95,000. If it was $10 a person, it would be 950,000.
I guess some people have donated.
But on average,
bucks,
it's close to $100, or just under a person. Wow, that's amazing. Cricket World Cup.
Yes.
This year. Last time we came second.
Yes.
How are we going to go?
It's I think England's going to win, which is really because it's in England.
Yeah.
England are very good at the moment, particularly at one-day cricket. It's going to be annoying because New Zealand, South Africa, and England are in this great little club of being good cricket teams that have never won the World Cup, and I don't want to lose. I want us to be the first one to graduate out of that group. Everyone else has won it once, and we're just this little group, and we're like one day. And
so South Africa's never won it either.
No, South Africa have never got to a final.
Really?
We've knocked them out of the semis twice.
That was one of the most disappointing ends to a season, the last Cricket World Cup, where we just flew through and did so well for the whole tournament, and then just went back to... I always talk about, I love cricket, right? So, and I've just got Sky Sport, did I tell you? New Zealand cricket team always, to me, feels like an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
I love you, come close. I love you. I love you. Fuck you. I love you, come close. I love you, come close. And then it kind of feel like that. And I go, oh, look, I've had enough. I can't. I get sucked back in. And then it's like, get away from me.
It's been good for a while, though.
It has. I agree. And that's my fickleness. That reflects me, not the cricket, that attitude.
But, white ball cricket is a hard game to win all of the time.
Yeah, sure.
Like, no one can win all of the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what, though? Do you know who's timing their run perfectly is Australia. They've just beaten India and Pakistan in one-day cricket.
Did they go to Pakistan? Yeah. I didn't think teams were doing that anymore.
Oh, no, they play in Dubai.
Dubai, yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. But, like Pakistan, one of the favourites as well, and they just beat them in their own backyard. So it's so annoying. And they get Warner and Smith back for the World Cup too.
Hopefully who will be out of practice and terrible.
Exactly.
Unlikely. or well rested and ready to go. Exactly. One of the two.
There's always food poisoning.
All right, so if you're going to put a bob on, if you're going to put your head bob on, it's with England.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's England. England. This is the best English team, one-day team I've ever seen.
All right.
They're unbelievable. As long as Josh Butler doesn't get man-catted.
Right.
Did you catch up with that? Oh, so... he's playing the IPL at the moment.
Yep.
Man-cat is when you run out the non-striking batsman as a bowler. So you run into bowl, but they're out of their crease. And you
tap them. Yeah,
it's called a man-cat. It's named after a dude called Man-Cad.
I'd never heard that term.
Yeah, it's Mr. Man-Cad.
Mr. Man-Cad.
Venu Man-Cad. That's him.
Venu Man-Cad.
Venu Man-Cad did it to Australian, and so it got named after him because it's kind of one of those weird cricket things that's... not the done thing.
I remember playing cricket.
Even though it's in the rules, it's not the done thing.
I mean, this is what we got told at school. Maybe this was just the chivalry of cricket, that you'd have to give them a warning.
Yes, you do.
No, is that in the rules? They changed the rules. The bowler would say, yes, I'm warning you.
Yep.
So, but then again, if you're out of your crease and I knock you off, why do I have to warn you? I knock you off my sound wrong as well.
They actually changed the rules a few years ago.
Yeah.
And not many years ago, but a couple of years ago, they changed the rules because it used to have to give a warning and now you don't.
Oh, okay.
So there's, Shane Warne, hysterical Shane Warne comes out on Twitter and says, this is a horrible act and it's going to define Ravi Ashwin's career and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't care, man. It's in the rules. And Joss Butler's done it. He does it all the time. It's happened to him in an international game. It's a batsman's game. It's too much weighted in favour of the batsman anyway.
I feel the pressure going up with this conversation all of a sudden. No. It's interesting though.
I can't be funny about cricket. I can't. I care too much.
It seems to be if you're out of your crease, you're out of your crease. Why would a batsman have the right to be out of his crease?
Preaching to the converted here.
All right, and now tell me then, Martin Guptill. Yes. Is he going to be exquisite, averaging 100 during this tournament, or is he going to be averaging 20 and plays
very well in England?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, plays very well in New Zealand and England. Those are his best places. He is a bit of a situational cricketer, marvelous cricketer, but New Zealand and England,
marvelous.
Yeah, New Zealand and England are where he plays his best. Yeah.
And is Kane Williamson the best batsman we've ever had?
I'm a Ross Taylor fan, but Kane Williamson's exquisite, of course.
I remember Murray Deaker when Kane Williamson was like a teenager and he was doing his ZB sports show.
Oh yeah,
was saying this boy has the best technique I've ever seen of any batsman ever in New Zealand, and he will be the greatest. When he was a teenager.
Yeah, he plays to his strengths really well. Obviously, he's not the most muscular guy in the world, so he can't just, heave the ball over the boundary like a Ross Taylor or a Martin Guptill.
Although I have this memory, and maybe Jace can kind of Google this. It might have been during the World Cup. Was it at Eden Park? We needed something like 3 or 4 to win off the last ball, and Kane hits a 6.
Oh, yeah, against Australia in the World Cup.
It was Australia, was it?
Yeah.
That was sublime.
Yeah, so we'd beaten Australia in that tournament in the first game. Yeah.
And then he needed a couple of runs off the last ball and then hit a 6.
It wasn't even the last ball. It was the fact that we were 9 down and Trent Bolt was at the other end.
Right.
And so and Mitchell Starc was bowling thunderbolts.
So look at that. We get stuffed by stuff. They don't want to show us.
They don't want to show you.
There you go. All right, though, my friend. Hey, so are there still tickets for tonight at the Fringe and tomorrow, as far as you know?
I think so. Not many.
So Google Fringe Festival, Google Ben Hurley, you'll find
Dunedin
all the
Fringe,
Dunedin Fringe, the world's southernmost international fringe festival. It's a
great festival, a great city.
Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream.
Yeah, it's just silliness.
All right.
There's no politics. There's no point. There's no message.
Come and have a giggle.
That's the way.
And after you finish up in 2 nights, straight back up north.
Yep, back home for
different with a whānau now. Like you might have hung around for a couple of days and had a bit of a look around down here, sort of thing.
No, not normally.
No,
it's just
always in and out.
Usually in and out, but yeah. I mean, I'm not normally away for like 3-4 nights at a time very often, so this is fairly rare.
Nice. All right, Dunedin Fringe Festival, Ben Hurley. Google all those, you'll find details. Ben Hurley, thanks for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.